This isn't just a win for India, it's a lunar first. No one's ever nailed a landing near the moon's south pole before. India's the first to do it. Huge moment for the country. Chandrayaan-3's landing wasn't just cool for India. It started people thinking about the moon in totally different ways. The mission, which started as just another study, got weird when the instruments sent back strange readings. It went from a victory to a global mystery, with everyone wondering what was up. Turns out, the south pole of the moon, which we thought was just a bunch of quiet craters and ice, had some crazy secrets it was ready to share. Before we get started, hit that like button and subscribe to stay updated. First, everything went great. The Vikram lander touched down perfectly near the South Pole. The Pragyan rover rolled out, snagged some samples, checked out the surface, and sent data back home. But what surprised scientists wasn't the ground or the water ice. We already knew a bit about that. It was this other weird stuff. Weird readings that suggested strange stuff under the surface. The instruments, the ones that measured temperature and what's underground, started going haywire. Some spots were way warmer than they should have been, way above freezing. And it wasn't from volcanoes or anything radioactive. This warmth was coming from deep down in certain places. When the rover got closer to one of these spots, its radar showed a bunch of shapes, like rooms or tunnels, placed in patterns that looked way too perfect to be natural. These tunnels were smooth and went on for a long way. They weren't like any natural lava tubes we've seen. It looked like someone or something built them. More data came in, and the instruments found tiny bits of elements that aren't normally on the moon or Earth. These bits seemed to be arranged like an energy grid inside the tunnels. What made it so strange was that these unknown things were arranged in a pattern and lined up with the moon's magnetic field. Plus, seismometers started picking up regular pulses, tiny vibrations that weren't from moonquakes or crashes. They happened every few hours in a pattern, and they were strongest near the underground tunnels. These pulses weren't just shaking. They also had an electromagnetic side to them, which is something totally new. It meant the moon, thought to be a dead rock, had underground stuff going on and maybe some kind of constant energy thing happening. So, people asked, was it left over from some old civilization? Or was it something else, some non-living intelligence that was on the moon before Earth even had life? The odd shapes, the not natural stuff, and the energy coming from it pointed to something way past what we know about science. Scientists around the world were a mix of doubtful, curious, and just plain amazed. Agencies started checking their old lunar data, hoping they missed something, but nothing like it had ever been seen. Even old Apollo stuff showed similar pulses, but they were brushed off as glitches at the time. Now they looked like clues. Meanwhile, the Indian Space Research Organization, ISRO, knowing this was a big deal, started studying the data, but didn't tell the public everything. Some secret leaks said that there was some kind of structured intelligence deep in the moon, something alive and working, not just a ruin. Researchers were confused about whether this thing was aware of what was going on, if the moon has some man-made stuff on it. People compared it to old myths, like the moon being hollow or having secret bases. But even with all the ideas, nothing matched what Chandrayaan-3 found. Something was there, hidden for ages. What was even weirder was that there was a faint link between the moon's energy and Earth's own natural energy. It was small but kept going, and it changed with the sun. It made people wonder if the moon wasn't just watching Earth, but quietly helping out. This made people think hard. It made people consider if it was more than just another thing flying around the planet, something that helped keep Earth stable and shape life early on. What if someone planned its spot, its orbit, or what it's made of? Chandrayaan-3 made that weird thought a serious question. The moon wasn't just old junk, it was something that didn't make sense. The rover couldn't go far, but the last data it sent was another shock. The energy pulses got faster when a solar flare happened. The structures under the moon seemed to react to the solar energy coming in. This meant it could adapt, which no normal thing should be able to do. Felt like something down there was listening. Chandrayaan-3, with stuff that wasn't fancy compared to NASA or other big agencies, found a huge puzzle. The puzzle made us question nature, made us wonder what this intelligence was here for, if it's alive or man-made, and made scientists rethink what life, awareness, and creation itself is. Most of what this means is still hidden, but one thing's for sure, we can't think of the moon as just a dead rock anymore. The sounds of machines, the weird heat, the strange areas, and the signals all suggest there's something or someone around that's older than anything we know. Whether it's from some old space civilization, a machine left for reasons we don't know, or something natural that acts smart, it's there. The moon is watching, pulsing, and maybe talking, waiting for us to get it. As we study the data coming from Chandrayaan-3, something becomes very clear. The moon isn't just something in our sky anymore. It's a puzzle full of worry, wonder, and a feeling that there's something huge, old, and unknown down there. After these shocking finds, the moon went from being a boring place to a weird one. The details that came in during the mission's last days showed a picture far different from what we knew about the moon. For years, we saw the moon as just another part of Earth, but without air, life, or anything happening inside. Now, we see a system so complex and weird that it challenges science itself. Looking deeper at the energy patterns, the Vikram lander found something even bigger. The patterns weren't random. They were like coded signals. The energy seemed to follow fractal patterns, meaning each pulse was a small version of a bigger design. This wasn't just energy, it was information. And if it was information, it was terrifyingly real that it was programmed. The idea of a programmed signal coming from under the moon is wild. We've picked up tons of signals from space, but none had this fractal logic. That this signal came from close by made scientists rethink how to check signals, sort data, and look for aliens. What was more confusing was that these moon signals had together with gravity changes on Earth. Instruments in South America and Antarctica found tiny changes in gravity when the moon's pulses were strongest. These changes weren't big enough to cause earthquakes, but they were measurable and consistent. It was like the pulses were tugging on Earth, talking through invisible lines of gravity. Around the same time, people figured out what the stuff in the tunnels was made of. The weird stuff seemed to have semiconductive that are used to store and work with information. The network acted a lot like how things work in computers or brains. It made people consider that the moon could have a house, an inorganic intelligence. Not a regular machine, but a growing consciousness inside the tunnels of the moon. People often compared it to how fungus on Earth have vast webs of intelligence that communicate through electrical signals. But that works with chemicals, while this works with electromagnetism, lunar stuff, and time that we might not understand. Another crazy thing came from pictures Chandrayaan-3 took during some of the last days. The imaging showed some spots where light was acting in very strange ways, bending or spreading out around the ground. At first, people thought it was the ground or the instruments, but later realized it was hiding. The shadows weren't just dark, they had metamaterials that could bend light. It meant things were hiding from view below ground using nature to do it. We don't know if these hiding things were working on their own or were what's left of technology. But it showed there was something clever going on that was also a way to defend. Chandrayaan-3 got close to these spots, and the energy underground instantly went up as the machine kept sending information. During this time, odd changes in the moon's reflection were being seen. Some spots near the South Pole started reflecting light differently, mostly when the sun was very active. Satellites found short flashes of light across these spots, but there wasn't any meters or changes in the ground. The possibility that these were messages towards Earth or out into space started to take form. Scientists guessed that these flashes might not be regular communication, but a huge system that either does not send messages or is still waking from silence, waking up to send logs. They wondered if the moon itself was made by something that orbit from a distant unknown. What if it had a purpose of some kind? It may have acted as a safety line, even potentially had an influence on our origins. From certain viewpoints, information may act unnaturally. From cross-referencing with data and readings that had influence on recent years. But at certain points in history it intervened greatly. If the moon played a role in the planet's dynamics or development, then challenges evolutionary theory. Comparisons between mythological timelines and information was recorded in its prime. Across cultures, the periods that talked of the moon before with the arrival of being as the world was silent. Lunar noises, shadows, or communication. Through data compression in these recordings that were captured, deeps into the mission before fading. More information has been looked upon by global scientists so that we can understand what may come to light. Only now we're listening as everything was being heard. This is only the beginning for now, as space agencies are taking another look at polar investigation. But what may be had may be understood differently by what it does. If we are able to probe more, then it could cause danger for our cosmos. Perhaps it had noticed us as there, and is a great change that it always has. Perhaps a story that's untold can finally be revealed on these planetary missions. We are trying to find out what exactly the moon is. Maybe it has all came to be as what we are waiting for. If you think it's amazing, then like this video and subscribe.